I grew up during the 70s. I lived in a villa suburb and I loved playing in the street with my friends. But most of all, I loved to play football because I wanted to become a professional football player one day. And in that time, I didn't know that it's really hard for women to become professional football players, especially around the 80s and 90s. My father, he was an engineer, and he loved his cars. He loved to buy big cars with strong engines that swallowed a lot of gasoline. He didn't think about CO2 emissions. And he didn't think or know about climate threats. My mother, she was a housewife taking care of me and my little sister. And she was really proud when she bought a mink fur. She didn't think about minks living in cages with just one purpose in life, to become a fur for her. In this time, we didn't know that we were living on a planet with limited resources. We didn't know that we were living on a planet with limited resilience. In 1987, I finished high school. And that was the same year as when Gro Harlem Brundtland presented Sustainable Development, Our Common Future for United Nations. When I finished high school, I had never heard about sustainable development. I didn't know that we were exterminating animal species. I didn't know anything about biodiversity, and I didn't know that it was decreasing. I didn't know about the ecosystems, that the balance was getting disturbed. I knew about poverty in the world. I knew that it's not obvious that people have good working conditions. And I knew that there were countries not respecting human rights. I took fresh air, clean water for granted. And I didn't know that human beings are so dependent on nature to survive. My name is Pia Andersson, and for 8 years ago, I had just got divorced, and I got some kind of vertigo disease where I was all dizzy, and therefore I lost my job. So I was sick, I was single, I was unemployed with 4 children. And I really wanted to change my life. I wanted to start living differently. I didn't want to have a job from 8 to 5. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be able to take a walk in the forest on a Monday when the sun is shining, and maybe work on a Sunday instead, because it's raining. I wanted to keep my office at home. Nowadays, during Corona, most of us do, but in this time, nobody did. And I wanted to keep my office at home so I could be there when my children came back home from school. And I had also been thinking for a time, reconsidering this about vacations, because people seem to work so hard over a year, earning, saving the money. So they, especially us coming from Sweden, where it's so cold, we need to go to the sun. So we save a lot of money, going away for maybe 1 week or 2 with our families, and it's very expensive. And I wanted to get free. I wanted to make my own decisions about my own time. Think if I could take that amount of money and keep it for 8 weeks instead. 8 weeks of vacation, but back home. So I wanted to change my life. and I wanted to make my own decisions, so I had to start my own company. During this startup phase, somebody asked me, Pia, what is your company contributing to for a better world? And that question really hit me in the face and in my heart, and I didn't have any answers. So I started to study sustainability, sustainable development at the university. And today, I have a master's degree in sustainable business ethics. But what I learned during these studies was that this kind of lifestyle that I really wanted was also sustainable. It was socially sustainable, it was ecological sustainable, and also economical sustainable. What I also learned is that it does matter how we use our money. In 2015, 193 countries agreed on 17 global goals for sustainability to be reached in the year 2030. It's just 10 years left. The Agenda 2030 is asking us as nations, organizations, and individuals to contribute to a better future. Because in 2030, we shall live in an equal, fair, secure world, completely free from war, from poverty, and from climate threats. So my organization has developed a model, 5E to 5P, that helps companies to step-by-step integrate sustainability into their core business and to transform their business models. I've written 2 books, and I've also started a CEO network here in Uppsala that is called Uppsala 2030, where we all together are trying to make our best to reach the Agenda 2030 on a local level in Uppsala. But today, I want to talk about me as an individual, because I made a choice, and it was to start voting with my wallet for a better future. And when I did this decision, I became to be a very difficult customer. Each time I wanted to buy something, walking into a store, I had to ask all these questions about the raw materials, working conditions, how the production chain, what kind of impact it had on the environment. I also wanted to know if they would repair this product in case it will break, and if I couldn't use it any longer, did you have any second-hand shop for it, or did they collect it and recycle it into new raw materials? After a while, I realized it's easy to not buy anything at all, or to buy it on second hand. But at this time, my boyfriend, Niklas, had his birthday, and I really wanted to give him a nice present. And he has some problems with his feet. So I had the really great idea to buy him a foot massaging device. So I Googled all the electronic stores looking for this device, foot massage, and phoned them because I couldn't find any information about the answers I wanted on my questions. So I phoned all of them, asking them all these questions about working conditions, raw materials, and nobody had answers for me. So one day, I think might be one day after or 2, I got an email from one Swedish company that is called Clas Ohlson. I hope you're listening now. I got an answer, and they told me about how they control their supply chain, how they control the raw materials, working conditions, and how hard they were working on transports to decrease CO2 emissions. They also told me that they could help me to repair the device in case it will break, that they had spare parts in case I wouldn't need it, and they also collect the device when I don't need it any longer to recycle it into new raw material. So I was really happy, and on top of that, when I went to the store to collect this big package, it was a really big package, he's so nice, the shop assistant, that he carries all the package for me out on the big parking lot. So, hooray for Claes Olsson. But we have to consider, because just to get some figures on what about consumption. So, in Sweden, a year, the total consumption is around 200 euros, 200 billion euros. So, together, we can change and we can vote with our wallet for a better future. So think now that you are going to the shop. You have decided that you are going to buy something. You're standing there in front of different products to choose between. The question is, how do you make your choices? Do you choose the cheapest one? Or do you think that it's important to have a good brand with a high image because somewhere you think that you are what you own? Or you dare to be this difficult customer asking these questions and to walk away from the store feeling good about your choice, knowing that you are voting for a better world with your wallet. Now you might think that this is complicated, and maybe you also think that you're just one person out of 8 billion people living on the planet, and what you choose to do doesn't matter in the big whole. But you might also think that you love shopping, traveling, buying new furnitures and to decorate your home. And you might also think that now in the corona times and climate threats that you can't cope with more. But I've been thinking, since I was a little girl, that maybe I could put myself in a rocking chair, 100 years old, looking back on my life to see if I would be proud over my decisions that I made earlier on in life. So I want to take you for a journey. So a journey to the future. So if you close your eyes, I will tell you a story. Can you imagine the year being 2050? You're sitting with your children and grandchildren, perhaps in a rocking chair in the heat of the fire. You sit and enjoy your life, and you're so happy about the world we live in today. Because we live in a completely fair, equal, and peaceful world without poverty and climate threats, where people have time for each other, where we sit and smile at each other and laugh together. You sit and think about the meaning of life and wonder over what it was that happened when we reversed the trend, when we came out of the downward spiral of climate threat, poverty, exclusion, inequality, and war. Perhaps a major reason was that we had started to vote with our wallet for a better future and a better life for ourselves and for our families. You sit and look back on your life and you philosophize about the meaning of life. You look around you. What can you see? Do you see colors, shapes, light? Can you notice what you hear? Is the volume high enough? Do you need a special tempo or a tone? Can you also notice how you feel in your body? You suddenly wake up when one of the grandchildren knocks you on the shoulder and they ask you what you contributed to. What do you proudly answer then? All products have a story to tell if you just ask them. It's invisible when it stands in the shelf, but dare to be a difficult customer and just ask them for their story. My mother, she did not know or didn't think about the mink's life when she was wearing her fur. Today we know so much better. We know about climate threats. We know about bad working conditions. We know that there are people living without human rights. It's time for us to make a change. And we need to start to vote with our wallet for a better future. And if you like to join me to change the world, change your own life and the world together with me, join the Facebook group, Vote with Your Wallet for a Better Future. Thank you for listening.